In the Lower East Side of New York, 1918, where the streets were filled with immigrant teenagers, a fight broke out, and one of the 14-year-old boys, by the name of Ben Siegel, drops his gun. Police officers begin approaching the scene from around the corner. As Ben snatches the gun and is about to pull the trigger, a commanding voice orders him to drop the gun. In that moment of chaos, Ben goes with his gut instinct and decides to listen and drops the gun. Ben rushes to leave the scene and realizes that if he hadn't listened to that bystander's voice, he may have spent the rest of his life behind bars. Now that bystanding teenager went by the name of Meyer Lansky, and this was the start of a friendship between two of America's most iconic criminals. And our focus will be on Ben Siegel, who later became known as Bugsy Siegel. So how did Bugsy Siegel change the history of Las Vegas forever? Both Meyer Lansky and Bugsy Siegel complemented each other perfectly. Meyer Lansky was calm and analytical. Bugsy was boisterous yet charming, but both shared a common trait of being determined to succeed. Meyer Lansky described Bugsy as someone who was ready to rush in first and shoot. But their big break came in the January of 1920 when the USA declared Prohibition, which was the banning of selling and distributing of alcohol. And in an effort to reduce crime, it actually had the opposite effect. And this was how organized crime in the USA really kicked off. And Bugsy and Lansky were at the heart of supplying thousands of Americans with alcohol. And within just a few months, Bugsy and Meyer Lansky were making millions from bootlegging alcohol. Other gangsters involved in bootlegging alcohol, like Al Capone at the same time, were reported to be paying cops $500,000 per month to sell alcohol illegally. Both Bugsy and Meyer came from poor immigrant backgrounds and were starting to see the fruits of their labor. And even with the rapid expansion of hiring accountants, lawyers, and warehousemen, Bugsy still didn't mind getting his hands dirty. By his own account, Bugsy admitted to killing roughly a dozen men, and according to one gangster, he oversaw the killings of many more. With Bugsy's notoriety increasing, he became aware that the FBI were tapping up his phone and put him as a high priority target. In spite of this, Bugsy saw the perfect opportunity to escape a life of crime by running business in Las Vegas and doing something no other gangster had ever done before. But what did Bugsy have in mind exactly? Well, in 1931, the US state of Nevada legalized gambling, and at the time was the only state to do so. Bugsy realized that Los Angeles was only a few hours away by car from Las Vegas and was close enough to draw celebrities from LA to visit Las Vegas. A renowned entrepreneur named Billy Wilkerson was midway through his development of his casino hotel and had realized he was soon to be running out of money, and with legitimate funding out of question, Billy resorted to requesting investment from gangsters such as Meyer Lansky, Bugsy Siegel, and his criminal partners, which included Charles Lucky Luciano, the modern father of organized crime. Now, despite Lansky's hesitation, Bugsy saw a fortune could be made in Las Vegas and convinced Lansky to get the other criminal partners on board. And eventually Bugsy and his criminal partners invested $1 million for 2/3 share of the Flamingo. The mobsters couldn't quite trust Billy with their money, so they appointed Bugsy to oversee the construction of the Flamingo. But Bugsy had bigger plans for himself. Tensions soon rose between Bugsy and Billy Wilkerson, and after a few weeks, Bugsy decided to take control of the construction, pushing Billy aside through intimidation. Bugsy ignored the previous agreement and decided to make his own decisions. Bugsy fired all of Billy's men and quite literally tore up the blueprints. Bugsy then went on a spending spree to deliver his vision of Vegas magnificence. But with no prior experience in construction, Bugsy started making disastrous mistakes, and the opening of the Flamingo in December of 1946 was a complete disaster. Storms had kept many Hollywood stars from being able to visit Las Vegas. The air conditioning system often broke down regularly, but the most costly mistake was the fact that the boiler room was just too small for the Flamingo. And because gamblers weren't able to stay at the hotel at the time of opening, they simply took their winnings and went to other casinos. The Flamingo Casino lost $300,000 in its first week, and the entire operation shut down 1 month later. Meyer Lansky was becoming increasingly nervous as to whether Bugsy was the right man for the job. Communication between Bugsy and Meyer became more strained and less frequent. Bugsy confessed to Meyer that his budget of $1 million was not enough and they needed to increase his budget from $1 million to $6 million. With their friendship already strained, Lansky and his other criminal investors started to hear rumors that Bugsy's partner, Virginia Hill, was secretly stealing money from them by taking their money and going away to Switzerland to hide it. Despite the chaos and the fact the casino had to reopen several months later in 1947, Bugsy eventually delivered on his promise and the casino resort was starting to return profits. However, on the night of June 20th, 1947, in his partner's home in Beverly Hills, Bugsy Siegel was gunned down by an unknown assailant who had fired multiple M1 carbine shots, resulting in Bugsy's death. While the murder is still unresolved today, it is widely suspected that the hit was backed by childhood friend Meyer Lansky. Bugsy's vision of turning Las Vegas into an opportunity for profit was realized, and it wasn't too long before other mobsters started to make their way into Las Vegas. Other casinos such as the Stardust, the Desert Inn and the Riviera were all influenced by the mob many years after the Flamingo opened. The classic gangster film Casino is based on the life of Frank Rosenthal, who is played by Robert De Niro, and depicts the mob influence of the casino Stardust. And this story is how Bugsy Siegel has forever changed Las Vegas.